All right, I think we can go ahead and get this meeting started. I'm sure that Member Petrilli will join us shortly. I know he has a very complicated schedule these days. So we'll call this meeting to order. Can we have a roll call?
Committee Member Carlton?
Present.
Committee Member Chasty is absent. Committee Member Green?
Present.
Committee Member Hanson Romero?
Present.
Committee Member Petrilli? Just maybe this time. Committee Member Smullins?
Here.
And Chair Abbott.
And I'm here. Very good. So first item is approval of the action minutes from the last meeting. Folks have had a chance to review that. You can have a motion to approve.
I move to approve them.
Second. Right, that's Member Green. Second by Member Smullins. Thank you. And let's call the vote.
Committee Member Carlton?
Approve. Agree.
Committee Member Green?
Agree.
Committee Member Hanson Romero?
Yes.
Committee Member Smullins?
Yes.
And Chair Abbott.
Yes, approved. All right. All right. I do see one member of the public in the attending. So this is a moment for a time for public comment for items that are not on the agenda. So if I see a hand has been raised, so let's welcome Francesco Papalia.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi. My name is Francesco Papalia. I'm a member of the newly formed Finance Advisory Committee. This was one of our goals is to advise the council regarding the budget, help them to review the budget and any consequences both in spending and revenue. We're learning. Most of the members are just kind of learning about this. We've only had a few meetings. This group was instituted as part of the elimination of the treasurer, so that it was considered that would be part of our job, would be to be kind of the watchdog of the public finance situation, including potential bonds and other revenue streams that could happen, as well as pensions and anything that's involved in the budget. At our last meeting, I brought up the fact that we are looking into adding ways to add revenue, and that I was aware of your committee that is called Economic Development, and people kept talking about this. Will, we need more economic development to help this and that, and there's a new position with the that works underneath the city manager. The assistant city manager, I believe, is part of their duties now is to help with economic development. I don't know if you knew that, or I just read about that. It's a new position. There's no one's been hired for it yet, I don't think, but that's part of their duties. So I thought it would be a good idea that your committee and our committee, on the parts of it that intersect, that we communicate, work together, share information, so that we don't have different groups working on different things, going in different directions, and maybe, or some finding out some things that others don't know about. So the chair asked me to come to your meeting and introduce our committee to you, and so that in the future we could potentially work together on specific items. And that's just it. I just was going to let you guys know that. Secondarily, I guess since this, I don't think there's anything on your agenda about the new initiative that's maybe on the ballot in November about allowing sports gambling on tribal reservation locations, as well as 4 counties in the state that have live horse racing, so that if this passes, this is something I read about in the Chronicle last week, then sports betting would be allowed at Golden Gate Fields. And that could be a form of economic development. It could be a form of revenue for the city. So just wanted to bring that to your attention, that we're going to be looking into it. And maybe you might be interested in knowing more about that if it's going to be on the ballot either this year or soon thereafter. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Francesco. I certainly appreciate your comments. Not allowed to really say much about it, but I certainly appreciate your comments. So let's move on. Not seeing anybody else in attendance. Let us move on then to announcements. It's an opportunity for staff and commission or committee members to make any announcements they would like. Just raise your hand or jump in.
So I do have 4 announcements. So announcement number 1 is the business recovery survey was sent to Albany businesses in our email list on Thursday, May 27th. The survey was the primary item in the May Albany e-News Business Edition, and we hope to provide a presentation on the results from this survey at our next meeting. The second announcement is that the East Bay EDA has 2 webinars available to the public focusing on economic development and recovery in a post-COVID-19 world. The first will take place on Wednesday, June 9 from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And the second will take place on Wednesday, June 23rd from 10:30 a.m. to noon. And you can find them on eastbayeda.org. The third announcement is that the city has hired an economic development consultant, John Montag of John Montag Consulting. He is currently in the research phase of his work and will present his initial findings to the Economic Development Committee at an upcoming meeting. And then the fourth announcement is that the work plan, the EDC work plan, the work plan process is currently being reviewed by the Albany City Council. So the 2021-2023 Economic Development Committee work plan has not been presented to City Council yet. After the council has concluded their review, the proposed work plan will be submitted to council. And one caveat to this is that the council may decide to change the work plan process and reformat. And if that's the case, a revised work plan draft will come to the EDC for review, comments, and approval before being submitted to council. And those are my announcements.
All right, thank you. Other announcements?
Can I ask a question about one of Brennan's points? Is that legal?
I believe that's appropriate. It's an announcement.
What is John Montag? You said his findings. What exactly is he looking into, or what will he be reporting on?
So he's currently getting in touch with different businesses, different brokers, and just kind of getting a feel for the landscape of Albany as far as what can be done as far as economic development to help Albany as far as growing. I don't want to say too much because I don't have like the clearest information, and I'll let him kind of state exactly what he's presenting at the upcoming meeting.
Got it. Thanks.
The Chamber and the SAA have put together kind of their slate of events, certainly for the summer. I am very happy to announce that we're going to go back to the first Wednesday mixers in person in July. So we're looking for outdoor space for July. And then maybe as we get into late summer and fall, people will be comfortable moving inside. So we are working on the location. We're hoping that it will be one of the new businesses that's opening up. So we're not quite ready to announce that is July. So we're not quite ready to announce the location. The Best of Albany nominations. We are doing Best of Albany. The Chamber's doing Best of Albany again this year. That will begin also in early July. I want to mention them now because it'll happen before the next DDC meeting. And then the SA is working on an event, the Sip, Shop, and Celebrate, an art and wine walk on Solana Avenue. That is July 25th. And then another event in September 12th, which some folks may recognize the second Sunday in September as a key date. That this year is going to be the Sidewalk Affair, a stroll, and that will be again September 12th. So we're all looking forward to those events and really looking forward to things opening up and people being out in groups again. So.
And don't forget our coffee and cars on the fourth Sundays.
And then Coffee and Cars continues on each fourth Sunday of the month, and that's always a lot of fun. Okay, let's see. Seeing no further announcements, we can go into item 5.1, business resource updates on the city website. I believe, Brennan, you're on the hook for that one.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep this pretty short. I don't want to take up too much time on this, but I just wanted to kind of share a little bit about our city website and the business pages associated with it. I believe this is the one. I'm going to share this here. Okay, can you see this? So this is just our homepage. But I just wanted to let you know, so if you go to our city, you're going to see business in Albany pages. So you can see the ordinance on outdoor dining, business resources, additional resources, starting a business licenses. I'm going to focus on some specific pages. If you go to albanyca.org/business, you'll land on this sort of homepage where it gives you a little bit of an overview on Albany and business in Albany. In the starting a business section, you can see it gives you information on how to start a business. It will have, we'll try and keep this more updated, but the commercial spaces available will be here and updated. I think it was last updated January 2021. And it also directs you to the Albany Chamber of Commerce and the Solano Avenue Association. It gives you information on zone permitting and things like that. And then also during COVID, we've shifted our business and worker resources to kind of be focused on COVID. I think we shared this at a previous business e-news edition, but it shows local organizations such as Chamber of Commerce, Solano Avenue Association, Albany Inside Out. It also provides information for business owners if they need any type of resources like one-on-one advertising for local businesses. It has the federal and state, it has basically support measures for federal and state, as well as and local, and then also there's the private sector and nonprofit support. So I just recently updated this because some of the things had ended. So we just want to make sure that this is kept up to date as well. It also provides best practices and technical assistance. So again, super short presentation, but I just wanted to let you know that as we move forward, we'll develop this further and make sure that the information that businesses need are on these pages. And if you feel like anything is missing, let me know and we can see how we can add it to make sure that businesses are receiving the information in a clear and succinct way. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So again, super short presentation. Thank you.
Any comments or questions from the committee? I would just say I appreciate your efforts. I know what it takes to keep a website up to date. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that does need to be updated. I am sure you're well aware of it, and I'm confident that we'll kind of be working to keep that get that current. All right, moving on then. I see Member Petrilli has joined us, and we are ready for our Farmers Market Subcommittee update. We'll see if we're ready for that yet. I'm assuming Member Petrilli will be making that presentation. Yeah.
I believe so.
Yep. Hold on.
We might give him a minute. Maybe shall we move on?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, looks like he's maybe getting ready.
You're muted.
Oh.
Yeah. There we go. Oh. I think we can hear you now. Oh, now you can. Do you want us to give you a minute? We can go on to the next item and come back if you need to get settled.
Let me say unmute. Okay, here we go. How's everyone doing?
Very good, thank you.
Good to hear you.
Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Oh, that never happens to me. No.
Well, are you seeing this Google slideshow that this my screen right now? Can I share my screen? You are.
We're seeing it.
Awesome. We had a great little subcommittee. We did some research, and we're going to present our findings and then make sort of a quick proposal. So let me go to view and present. Here we go. Albany Farmers Market. Investigation, finding, and recommendations, summer 2021. If I can, yeah. So why should Albany have a farmers market? Sustainability and environment, support local farmers and producers, it's community events, local economy, attraction of outside residents, and then just generally it's a healthy choice. So Albany's Farmer Market previously ran from 2013 to 2017. It was on Wednesdays from 3 to 7 p.m. roughly. It was run by the Ecology Center. It was a certified organic market, which means that anybody who was there had to be certified organic and sell what they grew, which is a distinction from what there's two different classes. There's there's certified organic and there's non-certified organic tend to be fancier, smaller purveyors, and so on. Who we surveyed, we talked to Ecology Center, we talked to the farmers market managers, we talked to vendors, we talked to previous EDC members, shout out to Stephanie and Sean, and then community members in general. The feedback that we got was that, the event was that the previous farmers market was successful in the third year. The first 2 years were sort of slow and tough. That the organic vendors were really great when they were around, and that it was a fun community event. The negative feedback on it was that it was too expensive. The time and day weren't ideal. There was too much vendor turnover. There was inconsistent attendance. It wasn't a great location. Parking was tough. Any questions right now, or should I just continue? I'm doing good. I can't see everyone's screen. So
yeah, would you prefer we jump in with questions, or would you like us to wait?
Let's hold off. Let's hold off until the end.
Okay, very good. Very good.
Okay. I'm going to go back to view, and I'm going to go back to present. So then basically the local markets and food events within 10 miles. So this is sort of a rundown on the competition. Berkeley has 3 markets run by the Ecology Center, all of the same organization that ran the Albany Market. There's downtown Berkeley from 10 to 3 on Saturdays. There's North Berkeley from 3 to 7 on Thursdays, and there's West Berkeley on Tuesdays from 2 to 6:30. Then there's the El Cerrito Plaza, which has 2 events, 2 markets, which is on Tuesdays and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1. And then there's the Kensington Market, which is rather popular, that's from 9 to 2. And then there's the Off the Grid. Off the Grid is a food truck, basically a food truck event that was operating on Wednesdays at El Cerrito, and Tuesdays, I didn't complete this slide, but they used to be on Wednesdays at El Cerrito. They are temporarily closed. Nothing on their website suggests that they're going to be returning to operating again. And it seems like they have pivoted to sort of supporting local food systems and food insecurities. So, as you can see, like Mondays are not ideal because Mondays are basically, that's thought to be like a dark day for markets because everyone's basically returning to work and they're too busy. Tuesdays, we've got 2 markets, one in the AM, one in the PM. Wednesdays is Off the Grid El Cerrito, the North Berkeley. Thursdays, Friday's a dark day, and the Saturday there's 2 markets, and Kensington is a Sunday. So there's a lot of what we would call a saturated market, and we're surrounded by decent farmers markets. There's a difference in quality between these markets, and one of the feedbacks that we got from one of the people that we surveyed was, hey, just focus your attention on making the El Cerrito Plaza attendance greater and help support that market to keep that market growing and thriving. So what makes a market successful? This is the feedback: location, demand, city support, community support, and good vendors. Why did the Albany market close? Inconsistent attendance, which led to vendor turnover and vacancies, difficult location for parking. There was some community pushback from a few businesses and residents. There was too much competition from Berkeley, El Cerrito, Kensington, and then ultimately when off the grid moved from North Berkeley to El Cerrito on Wednesdays, that sort of sealed the deal for the Ecology Center and sort of shut it down. That's the crude sort of investigative, news that we got. Albany in the third year was doing quite well and sort of competing with the North Berkeley, but once off the grid came, then they just saw attendance drop. Potential locations, right? This is sort of for the future or a future farmers market or community events. Solano, west of San Pablo, which was the previous location. There is a spot on Cuba Road Boulevard, which was investigated. That is when it connects to Solano Avenue, shutting down one of the one-way streets. There's the Cornell Elementary, which is sort of the leading one in our minds. That would be, the parking lot. Then there's private parking lots, which include the Twin movie theaters, the post office, Mechanics Bank, CVS. And what I'm missing here too is the 1100 block of Solano, which is where the post office. Oh no, the post office is included. Cleghorn vacant lot. That's the one where they do the Christmas trees. Then there's the Lonely Greenway, Golden Gate Fields, Memorial Park. And there's probably a couple other ones. Amy has got a pretty great pulse on all of these locations. She also has sort of the expanded notes on every location as well. Recommendations. I've got my son here. So Albany should not invest into a farmer's market unless one of the local markets closes and there is a greater opportunity demand to do so. Although Albany is a great community that would benefit from a centrally located and vibrant farmer's market, there's not enough demand given to the neighboring markets and the lack of an ideal location for it to be successful and sustainable. Alternatively, we should investigate an alternative to a farmer's market. Alternatives to a farmer's market. Amy, would you like to maybe take this slide over? Because I think that you have the most, I don't know. Do you have any interest in talking about this or shall I talk about it?
I mean, I had more information about the locations, which was the other slide on the Google Drive. Well, the one that you had actually in the Google Drive, that was the one I edited, but it's not, didn't get transferred here, but.
I can share that, I can share that. My thinking here was that, we're presenting on the farmer's market and the farmer's market just doesn't seem to be viable. So I would like to go back and either start a new subcommittee or continue with the subcommittee that we have right now, just to really investigate and dig into the locations and then this potential alternative to a farmer's market.
Right. Yeah, I mean, this slide is kind of, I think, what we all should discuss, maybe, of what these are kind of what that slide in the back there that had the types, whether it's an arts and crafts fair, but something, what we really thought was something focusing on the local businesses, something that would enhance the local businesses, not take away from the local businesses. And part of the reason we were looking, like when we started honing in on some of the locations, it was what locations can be then either on Solano or connected to Solano. So people are at the First Fridays or something, whatever it is, and First Fridays, Fourth Fridays. Fridays is a good empty day. And then they can go to this, whatever this event is, with maybe local arts, local crafts, local music. Businesses can have their local fair, have a table. We could have a rotating community group table, something like that. And then, since it's basically each location is connected to Solano. If it's Cornell School, you have part of Cornell Avenue that's then connected to Solano. The other parking lot, the Abrams Claghorn, maybe you shut down a couple of a small segment of Masonic where it's not, where it's only businesses, where there's no private homes, and then you're connected to Solano. Then people, they have dinner, they walk Solano, etc. So the idea is to make it something that enhances, that incorporates the local businesses if possible, when possible, and then and draws people to the local businesses. So what that is, the form that takes, is that's what's kind of open. Like, who is it? What, who wants to, we imagine Abrams Claghorn would probably want to have a table. Maybe he would have one of his, he would propose he could have any one of his artists or artisans that is able to show each month. So yeah, cooking demo, again, we haven't talked to restaurants or anything. Hey, would you want to do this? Could you, would you want to display? Would this be beneficial to you? But basically what we came down to is a farmer's market doesn't really make sense, but something like this that would enhance the local businesses makes more sense in whatever form makes sense.
Thank you, Amy. I appreciate that. She nailed it. So, what I would like to continue to research is the location, the style and type of this event, whether the city is involved or not. I mean, if it's a private event on private land, on a private lot, the city doesn't necessarily have to be involved at that high of a level. Would the chamber and the Solano Avenue Association be involved here? What different types of events could we have, right? Is it, and what's the community support? Like what's the, and I wrote micro stroll down because, the stroll happens once a year. Everybody looks forward to it. It's sort of blown out, and there was a lot of people over the last, 5 years. And something maybe a little bit smaller might benefit the community. And this is not too far off from, music in the park, right? But this would be more of like a bazaar on Solano. And so I'm wondering if anybody who was not in our subcommittee would have any thoughts. We can discuss it. We can table it and come back with sort of more proposals. But on that note, I'm probably going to stop sharing my screen because I can't see anybody's wonderful face anymore.
Okay, very good. So let's open it up then for clarifying questions. Any questions you have about the presentation? And I don't see anybody jumping up, so we can always ask them again. So we'll just follow the rules. We'll open it up for public comment. Anybody in the public would like to speak on this item? Hand went up and one down. I'm not sure. Okay, well, the hand went up again. Francesco, please.
Mute. It says, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I have to unmute myself every time. Well, it was a very, very clear presentation. It kind of shows that there is an abundance of supply and not enough demand for us to have a new one. And I love the main idea that I get out of it is that we need to come up with something that is unique and different from what's available elsewhere. So if you can, and I like the idea that it is something that can help the existing businesses. So that would enhance, so something like that. Sometimes something like the stroll sometimes doesn't actually help the local businesses because it overwhelms them. And so the stroll is what it is, and it's great, but it's not just once a year thing. So something that could be maybe even a quarterly event, if there would be, that could incorporate something that people would, each season, a seasonal event that could people could think about, identify, could have a different theme going for each one. But like an Oktoberfest, of course, we're going to have that. I mean, that kind of thing. So that's my idea. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Not anticipating any more comments, so we'll bring it back to the committee. So we can open up for discussion, observations. First off, I want to say, wow, you guys did a lot of work in just a month, and I very much appreciate it. Great report, very valuable. Thank you. Any comments, discussion? Member Green?
I think it's a great idea. And I like the idea of a monthly thing, because especially if I don't know, there's just something about it that then people know. And maybe if it's on a Thursday, even when people are starting to think about going out, I'm not saying that it would be at night, but just, if it spans the late afternoon to early evening, you know, I don't know. Like, obviously Monday's not good, but who cares what day it is? But my point is, like, the monthly thing, then you just have it in your mind after a couple months and you think, oh, I don't, you know, maybe I'll go check it out and then grab something to eat while I'm there. And then dinner's taken care of. I think it's a great idea. And you guys did a great presentation. Thank you.
Can I share the notes on the locations? Is that possible? Like one of our.
You mean
conversations
right now? Share the screen right now?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, which I've actually
I-
never done. So let's see.
I think
how
that's
it works.
appropriate. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see. So I've got.
Because anything that we're talking about, the location information could be relevant. So
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's
So
appropriate.
how do I share? Okay, let's see. Share screen. Okay. Well, okay. No, I don't want desktop. I want that.
Amy, if you don't get it, I got your back.
Boom. Is that it? You see it?
That's it. Good job.
All right, old lady,
Well
doesn't it? Okay. So basically, these are kind of pluses and minuses on the various locations and details on the various locations. And the bolded ones are sort of our kind of finalists, the ones that we think are better locations. So Abram Claghorn lot, we're not sure about what their situation is, but you know, we could talk to Robbie obviously about that. But it's really easy to incorporate Solano. You could add a couple of the parking spaces in front. So the event itself would not be blocked, would be an extension of the street and then part of Masonic. And that would kind of be a big, you know, a big festival, a big area for an event. One advantage of that is it's visible from the Ohlone Greenway. Masonic will be visible from the Ohlone Greenway, that part of it. And there's so many people passing by on the Greenway, especially during commute hours. And that would really draw people in. Mechanics Bank is really too far to help anybody. The Kershaw lot is similar to the Abrams Claghorn lot in some ways. You take part of Cornell, but I don't know, you know, we'd obviously need to coordinate with post office, pick up delivery hours, and I have no idea what those are, but it's kind of a similar type deal. We wouldn't have frontage on Solano though, which is less ideal. Albany Twin, the theater owner was not particularly supportive anyway, so we sort of tabled that. Cornell School lot, I mean, that's a really big section. The previous was for summers only, and that was partially because it was a food-oriented event, and so they were like, you know, they were worried about cleaning issues. But if it's less oriented toward food, then maybe cleaning issues, which someone's going to have to clean whatever the event is, wherever it is. Larger space, but it's less connected to Solano because there are private homes. And so you might only be able to take like the west side of the east side of part of Cornell up to Tata or something, and then Tata. But it's still a good space because it's big. There's also existing bike racks on corner of Cornell and Solano, and we could put the bicycle valet racks, you could rent the bicycle valet racks from Albany Strollers and Rollers, put them in the lot itself, and it'd be enclosed against a fence, which would be good. And it's self-locking, just like they did for Foodie Land. They rented, the organizers rented like 15 or 18 of Albany Strollers and Rollers bike valet rack, made it clear, self-lock, but it's a location. Key Route on the west side from Solano through the Kinderstube is also a good visible area. And it's something that, you know, through the Kinderstube, there's, you know, I don't know how to measure using Google Maps, sorry, but Michael probably does. So I'm not sure how big that space is, but it's super visible. People who live on that half could, you know, you turn around to go out, you know, it's just, you know, closed part way once a month. It's fine. We're not no dealing with anyone's driveways, anything like that. That's also visible, not quite as visible from the Greenway, which is good. There are questions about the use of the median strip because I guess Sean and Stephanie said it was run by veterans, like the whole median strip or something. But so, I'm not really, I think none of the three of us are really clear on those parameters, but it could be used for some ancillary activities, maybe music gets set up there, who knows? But anyway, Greenway it didn't seem like there's a real optimal space there. Golden Gate Fields is way too far, and Memorial Park is too far, not way too far. If our whole purpose is enhancing local businesses. And this would be like a local, like Deirdre was saying, it's a local event. Hey, every month this is happening, just like First Friday in Oakland used to be. Locals go there, and then every so often I would go to First Friday in Oakland. So, people can come for an event, but people who are local, hey, let's go out to dinner. Let's check out the art, see what's happening. Maybe it's Cub Scouts table today at the community table. So all the Cub Scout parents come, stuff like that. So it's, family and visitor event. So that's the deal. Those are the locations, and I will see if I can figure out how to stop sharing my screen. Uh-oh.
I think it's up at the top of the screen is the option.
Screen sharing, stop screen, it's red. There you go. Thank you.
Very good. All right. Member Bacilli.
I just want to add in there that that Tony Kershaw confirmed that he looked into doing something like this. Tony Kershaw is sort of the managing partner for the post office lot. He said Sunday mornings he looked at this doing this previously, and he'd be open for it if the tenants were able to sign off on it. And that's a decent sized private lot. You could do a small stage, a couple booths, a couple food vendors, and and have some fun. So
he would only do it if it was Sunday mornings, or he asked about Sunday mornings, but others are, you never know.
He gets worried about the post office parking, and
Sure.
He's a parking guy. So
Well, post office there's trucks.
I assume part of it is federal property, right? So we may be pretty restricted there.
no, it's all. I mean, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know. But he said that it was viable on Sunday mornings.
We could, I'm sure. Yeah, I think the message that I get from this portion is there are some interesting opportunities here. It would depend on the event, what's going to be appropriate, but I very much appreciate the work you've done. I think it's very valuable information to keep in mind. Now, I do want to pour a small bureaucratic wet blanket on this discussion without exhausting anybody's enthusiasm. Our work plan item mentions farmers markets explicitly. So we're going to pull back our work plan item and kind of generalize it, I think, to go much further on this. But I do think this has some real potential. I do have a question for staff, and I'm guessing you folks don't know, but if I remember, we didn't pay the Ecology Center money for the farmers market. They just came in and it was self-supporting. Is that correct? Do you think the city contracted with them other than just for permission?
So I can. So a farmers market has to be run by a farmer, a city, or a nonprofit. So they found the Ecology Center as a nonprofit to run that organization. So they were acting on behalf of the city.
So on behalf of the city, I just don't know if the city actually paid them to do that, or if the farmers market was self-supporting. And I'm going to guess that you folks weren't involved. I understand. That's fine. It goes back a way. And okay, Member Romero.
Yeah, no, great presentation, guys. I know a lot of this stuff is kind of stuff that we've been bouncing around the SAA and chamber stuff as well. So, and I do know that Robbie at Abrams Claghorn does often put on like a monthly vendor fair with his local artists. And often I'll see those posts come through. So he's kind of already done a little bit of that already. And then also, Todd, actually, maybe you could describe some of the stuff that we went out to do in Alameda as well, because that's kind of along this same concept. And I think they're getting a decent draw on those. And those are once a month, last Friday of the month, right?
Yeah, so these are kind of thematic sidewalk sales. The one we've done is called the Magical Market, and we sell cloaks like cosplay cloaks and things. And it's a storefront, and there's just some space in the storefront, but then they leverage a small park down the street as well. And so they have, you need something that's going to draw people, something unique, something they can't get every day. And that's what that center provided. It would bring people down, and then they would stroll the avenue. So that's kind of what so some of these smaller locations might be appropriate for that purpose. It's not the whole event. It's just kind of like Mike, member Petrelli mentioned, a stage, a place for bands, something just to bring some interest and bring people down. But
So the event in Alameda is off Parker or off Webster, or
it's on Webster. It's a store owner on Webster does this event, and it's every month, called the Magical Market. And then we also did an event celebrating International Goth Day a couple of weekends ago, and it was kind of the same format, and it was very successful. It was an all-day Saturday, and it brought several thousand people down, so it was very successful.
Including a lot of Albany residents. I saw a ton of Albany residents down there.
One of the vendors in particular leveraged a lot of people from Albany to bring them down there. And they were all walking around in cloaks. I don't know how that happened. So any other comments on this? I don't think there's action to take except to keep this in mind when we get back to the work plan. Is that right? Or I mean, do you agree, Isabel and Brennan, that we kind of need to get this clarified on the work plan before we go much further? Certainly before we ask you folks to do anything.
Yeah, I think so. Because if you're moving away from a farmer's market to something else, then it should probably be specified in the work plan.
I would like to argue that that we didn't say that the alternative to a farmer's market wouldn't include food, nor really like this sort of food booth. And I think that anything that we do would include, say, a produce vendor and maybe a local meat vendor and those sorts of things, right? But it would not be in the formal sense of a farmer's market in that it's sort of certified organic, run by these nonprofits. So I think that we could probably keep it in the farmer's market bucket. It would just be an alternative to the traditional farmer's market. If and maybe that's a loophole to keep the research going as opposed to stalling it out. But I don't know the rules necessarily. So
I think that's an interesting point.
Carlton?
Like Kensington Market is not strictly just food. They have music, or at least they used to pre-COVID, but they also have some craft vendors up there. I mean, clearly the majority of the vendors up at Kensington are, produce and or prepared food, but they have a variety, so you could argue that.
I mean, I guess.
I'm sorry, Member Smollett.
I was going to say, I guess if we had an opportunity to change it at some point and say farmers or other regularly scheduled market, then,
If we weren't kind of in the middle of a work plan process, we would compose an amendment to our work plan, and we could do that right now and send that to council for approval. But we're kind of in this weird place right now. So I would also say that, the fact that it's not on our work plan doesn't mean that you as individual citizens can't continue to work on it with the anticipation that we certainly can't ask staff to do anything. We shouldn't make it an agenda item, but if you folks want to talk about it and kind of.
Todd, we can't.
Todd, you're muted. We missed the last half of what you said.
Just if you as individual citizens wanted to continue working on this, there's nothing wrong with that. We probably wouldn't be able to make an agenda item until we have clarity with the work plan, and certainly we couldn't have staff to do anything, but you could continue to think about it and work on it. In the anticipation that there would be an opportunity.
So what is the...
Go ahead, Member Carlton, sorry, yeah.
So since we are in the middle of the work plan review, what would that potentially put the whole, if we need to update the work plan, does that put it back like a couple months, or does that kind of take it off the table for us, or what is the process?
No. Brendan was saying that council is kind of reviewing the work plan process and format. And so it seems like we're going to see the work plan again. And we're not really sure, but hopefully sooner rather than later. So we will have the opportunity to make a change at that point.
Okay, great.
And just you know, kind of the way I would see this is you folks or this body, you know, if the city needed to be involved, you know, if the city was going to provide public space or financial or whatever, we would need to come up with a proposal or guidelines and then request proposals from a third-party organization. The city is not going to run a weekly or monthly event like this. That's just not what they're going to do. So we would need an organization like the Ecology Center, except for the sort of thing. So we would need to kind of frame what that would look like, and then you know, kind of operate on that level. But it may be that the city doesn't really need to be involved at that point, but we'll see. But I think it would be excellent to kind of sketch out requirements and options for at events, and then we can find organizations that can provide them.
And I just wanted to add that even if the city wouldn't be, may not be involved, that the recommendation would go to council, because this advisory body provides recommendations to council. Mm-hmm.
I think if the city didn't even involved, they might not be involved in you know, the proposal or whatever. No, that's fine. It would go to council. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. You would present the format, the structure of the event. Mm-hmm.
And I think the city has to be involved, because without a connection to a street somewhere,
absolutely,
then I mean, I think that's what connects it to our business center, to our downtown. Without that, it's in a parking lot somewhere behind a building that nobody sees. So I think that the city needs to be involved as far as public space is concerned.
And this committee is advisory to the city council. So, you know, what you're proposing or what you're bringing as far as ideas should go to the council for their consideration.
Okay, I hope I didn't dampen everybody's enthusiasm. It's just bringing up a small point. Any other comments or questions before we move on? Anyway, Member Hanson.
One of the things that I just like to point out, a lot of our businesses on the avenue, I know, well, a lot of the businesses that aren't below the BART tracks on our avenue, the ones that are kind of in that midsection, often feel kind of left out of like being, you know, gleaned upon, you know, and so another opportunity potentially for another space is maybe possibly partnering with Safeway and potentially, you know, I mean, we're going to be working with them on, you know, the SAA 2 upcoming events, but potentially they might be a location or a space area that might be a good spot, because it'll bring more life to that section as well. And then also, you know, I mean, this is underground and around the corner, but there is also that parking lot space underneath where kitty corner across from them, there's that underground parking lot underneath Orange Theory Fitness. So that might potentially be another spot. Just throwing that out there.
So do you think Safeway would give up half their car parking once a month?
I can chat with them about it. I've got connections there.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that would,
and then also maybe California Bank and Trust. I mean, these are some of the locations that but at least it just brings some more life up that portion of the avenue rather than it being so focused below the BART tracks.
I think Safeway is an interesting idea. I kind of, in my mind, ruled it out because of the parking, because their parking lot is always busy. But if they'd be up for that, I think that's a great suggestion.
They did let the Chamber and the SAA kind of use the last row of parking, you know, from the last kind of parking blocks to the street for the car show a couple of months ago. And I think it went okay. And if we chose a time that wasn't a really busy time, that would be a nice place to serve as kind of a base, a core. So anyway, yeah, it's got a good suggestion. Other comments before we move on? Not seeing any. Again, I just want to thank you guys. That was a very valuable report, valuable work. I appreciate it very much. All right, item 5.3, history of cannabis retail in Albany. I believe Jeff Bond will be presenting. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Good evening, everybody. Jeff Bond, the Community Development Director. Good to see you, everyone. A few months ago, I promised to give you an overview of the history of cannabis regulations, and so I've prepared a brief timeline, and we'll give you some of the highlights of the last 15 years or so, actually a little bit more than that. And then when I finish sharing my screen, I'll be happy to answer any of your questions. So to start with, pull up my timeline here. And let's see here. A second. There we go. Okay, so and of course, if you want to interrupt me at any point with your questions, that's great too. I don't mind that at all. The starting point for cannabis regulations in California really was back in 1996 when the voters of California approved Prop 215, which allowed Californians to use marijuana for medical purposes. The vote in Albany for Prop 215 was 80% in favor. And keep that in mind because there were some other votes more recently that I'm going to refer to. But back then it was overwhelmingly positive and popular idea in Albany. This is not just about local regulations. There's a lot going on at the state and federal level. I'm just going to touch on a couple of those. One of them was an important Supreme Court ruling in 2005 that basically said it doesn't matter what state and local government does. It's still, cannabis is still something that is regulated under the Controlled Substances Act. And one of the consequences of this ruling is, to this day, as I understand it, it needs to be largely a cash business because many banks, due to federal law, won't knowingly handle cannabis-related business accounts. In 2005, a little bit before I started working here, the city received its first inquiries from people interested in establishing, at that time, a medical marijuana dispensary in town. And the response was to create an ordinance to regulate where this might go. The ordinance was prepared, and the city council in 2006 decided that before they would approve it, they wanted to put an advisory measure on the city ballot to see how the voters felt about it. So that advisory measure went on the ballot. It said specifically, would there be support for one medical marijuana dispensary someplace in California? And I think they had a few provisions about that. And the voters approved that by 54%, not the 80% back in 1996, but down to 54%. So based on the will of the people expressed in that advisory measure, City Council did approve the ordinance, and in 2007, it basically allowed one ordinance in the city. It had it's a very complicated ordinance. It had some provisions about distances from different primarily youth-oriented activities, and also very complicated application and performance standards and violation procedures and so forth. It was a little bit of a complicated ordinance. But nonetheless, despite its complications, we received numerous application inquiries and some preliminary applications. There were, I would say, in that period of between 2008 and early 2011, we spent more time on cannabis than we did any other issue, any other land use issue in Albany. And it was really, setting aside everything else, it was a big time suck for us. We ultimately received 4 complete applications. Several of those were ultimately did not come to a public hearing because of either police background checks or for other reasons that it just didn't get all the way through the process. We did get one application at 1019 Solano, just west of drawing a blank, Adams, and that application was very controversial. It was ultimately denied first by the Planning and Zoning Commission, and when that denial was appealed to the City Council upheld that denial. And I will say that there were a number of people who came to me that said, you know, I really support these dispensary ideas, but I really never thought it would happen in my neighborhood. And there was, you know, I think largely, and some of you I think were probably around for that. I think it was largely, it was a packed room, and most of the room was opposed to the dispensary. Also in 2010, the voters in Albany approved putting a measure, or approved a measure on the ballot to place a tax on local businesses, local cannabis businesses, and that tax I think passed by 84%. That tax, by the way, still exists on the books, even though we've never collected anything because we haven't had a cannabis business. So as a result of the city's denial of that application at 1019 Solano, we ended up going through some litigation. The applicants sued the city. City ultimately prevailed primarily on a legal technicality. It didn't really ever get to the merits of the case. Shortly thereafter, there was a state appeals court ruling that limited cities in California ability to put kind of the types of conditions that most cities would want to do on the operation dispensary. So that kind of put a chill on, at least certainly in Albany, a chill on the idea of allowing dispensaries, and the city adopted a moratorium at that point to ensure that we wouldn't be forced to have a dispensary without any conditions on its operation. And that pretty much quieted things down until 2016, when at the in the November ballot, the state voters approved Proposition 64, which is the law of the land today, and it allows both medical and recreational use of marijuana. It also had an excise tax of 15% on it that's collected by the state. So following the passage of Prop 64, the city council had a substantive discussion about what do we want to do here in Albany. The council at the time decided they didn't want any dispensaries, but were going to allow deliveries. And so that was approved, and continues to be what's on the books today. In addition, in 2018, there was a series of new state laws came into effect that basically implemented the details of Proposition 65. And those laws are very complex. Never really had the need to get into the details of it, but they had some growing pains, and they've been amended a few times over the years. And again, we're dealing with the issues at different levels of government. In 2018, the Trump administration, time Attorney General Jeff Sessions, wrote a memo to the various U.S. attorneys to say they should, directing them to enforce the Controlled Substances Act in states where these regulations, such as in California, were allowing marijuana. So that was, I don't know that there was actually any enforcement actions taken in California, but again, it was kind of a little bit of a chill in some cities about not wanting to get sideways with the federal Department of Justice. And over the past couple of years, in particular in 2019, we did present a little bit more detail than what I'm doing now, but a status report to first the Planning and Zoning Commission and then to the City Council. The council at the time decided they wanted to form a subcommittee to study the issue a little bit more carefully and make a recommendation. A subcommittee of 2 members of the City Council, and that subcommittee, to my knowledge, never actually got an opportunity or didn't get to a point where they prepared a formal presentation to council. So we're still kind of in that holding pattern that we've been in for a few years now. We no longer get inquiries about opening a cannabis dispensary in town. I don't know if that's because of the economics of the business or because we've been kind of on the list of cities that don't allow them anyhow. So they're going to neighboring cities and just skipping over us. I guess I'll pause right there to see if I can answer any questions or take any of your comments on this brief history. But there was a lot of work that went into some of these phases of this recent history. So yeah, I'll pause there. Thank you.
All right, folks, any clarifying questions or on the, first off, thank you, Jeff, for the presentation. Very valuable. I had a quick question. I'm remembering a couple of years ago, I think the Chamber of Commerce was contacted, somebody wanting to create a grow business. So to actually production down maybe on Cleveland. Did he ever contact the city about that, or they may have just been looking for location?
I didn't handle that inquiry. There was an inquiry that came to us, and I don't know that it ever matured into anything. Well, I know it didn't mature into anything very serious, and I don't recall whether it was the property owner or someone seeking to reach out to a property owner.
You know, I guess the important part of that question is there anything that would prevent that? Would that be covered by this, you know, the moratorium or wherever we are in that price? Because it's a little different. So I'm just curious.
I'm pretty sure, and I'm sorry I don't have it open in front of me, but I'm pretty sure we had restrictions on the cultivation. Again, we could revisit those if people wanted to. At the time, there really weren't good locations for that anyhow. You know, today, the Albany Steel site might be a possibility, but that would be the only building that really theoretically could accommodate a substantial sized operation.
Okay, great. Any other questions for Jeff? Member Green?
So I'm trying to understand the economics of it. So there's already the state excise tax, and then in addition, there's a local tax. Well, that's why we're not getting any inquiries, right?
That's right.
I mean,
well, maybe there is a real problem, and it's not just Albany. There's a problem statewide with the black market side of the cannabis business is still thriving, and I think it's because whether it's our taxes or the state taxes, nobody wants to pay them.
Other questions before we open it up for public comment? Member Small?
Do you know, Jeff, does Berkeley or Alameda have local taxes on cannabis? Because they're two places that do have dispensaries.
I believe most cities who have approved these dispensaries or the cultivation operations have imposed taxes. I don't know what the tax levels are. And I would note that if we were to wanted to change the taxes in Albany, it has to go back to the voters again because it was a voter approved tax. It has to go back to be adjusted.
The question is, if people aren't coming here because we have a local tax because it's X% lower than Berkeley, like what is the local tax? What percentage is it?
I do have that. It is that it's $25 per $1,000 of gross sales. And then the state tax is 15%. So that's $150, and then we're adding 25 on top of that, I guess, if I understand the state tax properly.
Can I ask you one more question? I know El Cerrito had something, they had a meeting and a process, and they had a dispensary that applied for the batteries and bulbs place, that spot on San Pablo. Do you know if that was approved or not?
I don't know.
Okay, it was something. I know they had it on in a meeting.
But El Cerrito does have a dispensary. So there's
Okay.
one there, at least one.
Okay. I wonder if do you know if they have a tax?
No, I just looked up Berkeley's is 9.25%. So I haven't figured out the math on ours, but it's way less, actually.
Well, and also I'll remind everybody, I live on Pierce Street, so I'm constantly, back and forth between here, and there's the Seven Stars location, which used to be in the Ranch 99 and then moved across the street to another location. And now they've just expanded into this huge building right next door. So that may have also taken a lot of the focus off of, trying to add one into Albany, because it's literally right there.
Okay, any other questions before I open it for public comment? Seeing none, I see two hands. Mr. Pilch, perhaps first.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I can speak and maybe clarify some of these points because I was there. We don't have anybody coming to Albany because we do have a complete moratorium except for delivery. Everything else is banned. That's why no one is coming to Albany. There's a good point about the 15% state tax. That is, people have noted that is a bit high. However, even with that, our surrounding communities are able to add a tax on top of that. And I just heard, I think Berkeley was 8 or 9%. Sounded like the figure that was quoted by Jeff indicates that ours was 2.5%. Instituting a lower local tax could be very beneficial if we allow cannabis in Albany to attracting businesses in Albany. When I was on the council, Councilmember Moss and I were approached by a private developer who did want to develop a warehouse business at the former, a long time ago was PetSmart. I forgot what it became, but I think it's now again empty, but was very interested in that site because it's right off the freeway for warehouse and a distribution location. And I've had people, while I was on the council, I had a number of other private inquiries as well. But these people inquiring knew that depended on the council overturning the moratorium. It should be noted that the council moratorium was a 3-2 vote. It was not supported by me or Councilmember Moss. It was certainly not unanimous. My own opinion is that cannabis could bring economic development and money to the city. Having the moratorium means we're leaving money on the table. I don't see any good reason why. We just look like a parochial city by being the only one around who has that complete moratorium. I think that's it. I just urge you that if you think at all that this could bring economic development and money to the city, that you, make the appropriate pleas to your council members about that, because the council has full control over lifting that moratorium at any point in time. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Papalia.
Hello? So my understanding was that by our having a complete ban, that meant not that we left money on the table, meaning we weren't able to tax anything, or I think it was that we won't be getting a share is it the county or the state revenue? So that my understanding is that there's a certain amount of revenue that's collected by the county or the state that gets distributed to the cities on like a per capita basis, but it doesn't distribute it to cities that don't allow it. Is that correct, Jeff? And if it is correct, has the city willingly able to tell us how much money we don't get every year that we could receive just by allowing something in our city limits? That's all.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeff, did you want to respond?
Yeah, if you would like me to, Mr. Chair, Francesca's correct. That a portion of the money that comes into the state, that 15% excise tax, as I understand it, is available for grants back to the cities that allow cannabis businesses. Because we haven't been on that list, I've never really kind of investigated what amount of money that might be and what we might be able to use it for. But it's a good question and it's a good point, and it's something we probably should look into, and certainly would look into if we get an inkling from the existing current council that this is something they want us to look into more seriously.
All right, thank you. So we can bring it back now for the committee to discuss. Anybody want to start things off?
Sure, why not? So
Very good.
So I was in Alameda, was that yesterday? 2 days ago? Yeah, yesterday. And I tend to ride to Alameda a lot. And Alameda is, I mean, you guys all go there. You go there for your magical thing. And there's a farmer's market. There's all sorts of stuff there. And Webster and Park are like the two Solano Avenues, basically. And Webster has 2 straight dispensaries, Main Street Supply and Embark Alameda, that are big, nice dispensaries, and another like a CBD product shop called Malaya Botanicals, and it's right in it's on their Solano Avenue. It's near residential area. It's less than a mile from a couple of schools. It's in a family area. It's all that stuff. And actually, coincidentally, today Alameda installed 6 bike corrals on Park and Webster, and one of them is literally in front of Main Street Supply, which is on the corner of Haight and Alameda. So, I mean, the point is, there's not this awful stigma to a dispensary. You know, people bike there, people walk there, people go there, and then they go to the parklet and grab a sandwich or something, or they go to the farmer's market. I think times have changed, and I think that I'm not sure, I have no idea how we do it, but I think at this point it's something, especially given the, also we have empty storefronts, we have, we need something new. We don't need another salon. I think it's something that would enhance our business community and certainly our revenue. And I don't think there's a negative attitude. And I think that somehow we should get it back to council, however that happens. I don't know, but.
Yes, Member Green.
I agree completely. It just is crazy. It just seems like a missed opportunity. And I mean, it's not easy to run a dispensary, so we'd be lucky to get someone to come in. And especially if our tax rate is so much lower, then we would be possibly attractive. So I don't know. I just think, like Amy said, whatever we can do or whatever we're supposed to do to try and kick it back up to council, I think we should. I think we have a responsibility to, actually. So that's me.
Very good. Other comments? Member Hanson.
I agree as well. I think that, I mean, obviously back at that time, there was more of a stigmatism against it a little bit, but now it seems very generally widely spread. I know I was in the downtown shopping area in Hayward, and they've got a big one there as well, right in that area too. So I think what do we need to do exactly, Todd, to get?
Well, this was my question. I mean, obviously, this isn't something we can do. This is a council thing, and really, council needs to be hearing all of this. I'm not sure what our place as a committee would be. I mean, I suppose we could make some sort of recommendation, but I'm not even sure how much far we're able to do that if it's not on the work plan. And why would they put something on the work plan that's illegal? So I'm not really sure. Isabel, Brennan, do you have any ideas on what role we might play other than just as individual citizens who could petition council on our own?
Well, I think if you want the council to give you some direction on whether or not they would like you to look into cannabis, then it would be to put it on the work plan and have that conversation with council when you present the work plan.
Yeah, the service we might be able to provide would be kind of an analysis of what would be involved and what the opportunities are, and maybe that sort of thing. And that would be valuable to them, and that could promote the issue. So yeah, so that would be something that, again, to add to our work plan when it comes back to us. Again, if it was a normal and the work plan had been accepted, we would be considering a request to amend the work plan, but we're not. We're kind of in this weird place right now. Yeah.
And just to mention one thing that just shows just how middle of the road cannabis is, like in the Main Street dispensary, they had this whole area that was cannabis CBD stuff for pets. I mean, all this stuff for dogs, and that's like everyone has dogs around here. I mean, it's so family middle of the road now, you know.
Oh, there we go. For your pet, for your dog.
That came from that shop in Alameda.
Okay, very good. We very good. Member Petrilli, you had your hand up?
Yeah, Jeff, did you guys do any research on delivery of cannabis? Was there anything to note about that? Was that also under the moratorium? Because I know that is.
Yeah, I understand your question. So it is not covered by the moratorium. You can order and have a delivery to your home or your business in Albany anytime. That's perfectly allowed now.
Okay.
You can't, however, open a delivery business in Albany. You can only be the customer of a delivery.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah. Otherwise, it sounds like the PetSmart location might have worked if they were doing warehouse. So yeah, okay. All right. I'm not sure there's any action for us to take other than to kind of hold on to this, and when the work plan comes back to us, perhaps add an item.
Yeah, and just with respect to the work plan, I think it would be something that you should put forward if you decide it rises to the top of your priorities, but also it would be a planning and zoning commission work plan item too, because the regulations, whatever regulations we might end up with, would live in the chapter of the municipal code that they are tasked to implement.
Yeah, I mean, frankly, I just think, submitting the work plan item just kind of opens the door a little bit, and who knows, they might then say, oh no, this is really just go to planning and zoning or whatever, but at least it starts that conversation.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, what we can do. Again, there's nothing preventing everybody as individual citizens from contacting council on that, on that side.
And the financial advisory committee, since we're losing the money, the existing money right now. So it kind of behooves a lot of commissions or committees to talk about this.
Okay. Member Hanson.
I was just thinking, I wonder if that property on the top of Albany Hill is still for sale, 7 acres or something. Maybe grow up there, clear the trees.
Okay, we're going to move on. We're moving right on now. I'm sure if a proposal is made, somebody wants to buy it for that purpose, who knows? Member Carlton.
I just wanted to chime in, since I haven't, that I agree that I don't understand why we don't have it here in Albany, and to say thank you, Jeff, for the presentation, because that was very educational.
You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
All right. Any other comments? Okay, let's close this item then and move on to 6.1. So we've talked about, or we've expressed the desire to create a subcommittee to work with the Arts Committee to kind of work on arts and commercial areas. So we're looking for volunteers to be on that subcommittee. I see one hand, Member Hans Romero. Since Member Chasey's not here, shall we put him on? No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Quick question.
Yeah.
We got 2 months for this subcommittee, right?
You mean until?
The next meeting?
No,
we
I don't
meet-
think there's.
1 month. August is off.
August is off.
So,
Well, I'm not. I mean, is there a limit to how many times the subcommittee can meet or the calendar? I mean, it can't be eternal. It can't just go on and on. But is there any limit?
I'll
I
volunteer.
believe so.
That's the question? Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, the question is there a limit? Like Member Petrilli is asking, we're forming a subcommittee now. Is it only going to be able to work for 2 months and then it has to disband, or can it continue after that?
Well, it has to have a specific purpose and a limited time frame, but the limited time frame is based on when the purpose has been accomplished. Yeah.
So we can have, it doesn't have to end in August, for instance, or the end of the
Right.
year. It could continue. Yeah, I mean, provided it fits in the work plan and all that. But assuming that.
Yeah, usually the duration is 3 to 6 months maybe, but not like a year or 2 years. It can tack
Okay.
on new items, right? It's like once it's done, it has completed its initial first item, then if there's a new item, then a new subcommittee has to be created.
Understood. Very good. So we have one hand raised, Member Hans Romero, Member Green. You volunteering? Okay, very good. We can have up to 3. Anybody else? Okay.
Well,
Member Petrilli,
I
I
was
see a
just,
tentative hand.
I was just gonna say, if you guys want me to join you, I'd be happy to join you. I mean, I don't know. We did good last time, but I don't want to keep doing the subcommittee train. I don't know.
Hey, if you have time for it, we'd love to have you.
I'm worried about that.
We don't want to burn you out. Yeah, we don't want to burn you out.
Yeah, the next 2 months, and I'm out of town for 2 weeks too. So okay, I'm gonna leave it alone. If you
Okay,
need,
very good.
if you need me to recruit some urban graphic artists, let me know, because I've got them on deck. We can have murals up in no time. They'd be a little urban though, maybe more urban than Albany wants.
That's awesome.
Okay.
We'll put it next to the dispensary. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
On the dispensary wall.
The dispensary. So I'm seeing 2 volunteers. Do we have to vote on this, or we just acknowledge that they've taken on the role? Is that correct?
Well, the only reason to vote on it is that it will be reflected in the action minutes. So it's always good to have it. So it's a good
Very
reminder.
good.
Yeah.
Very good. Do either one of you want to step forward as chair of this, kind of get the ball rolling? Okay, Member Hans Romero. Okay, so I'll just make the motion, just kind of formalize it. We are forming a what's it going to be called? Arts and Commercial Area Subcommittee. Members being Committee Member Green, Committee Member Hans Romero, and Chair Committee Member Hans Romero. I guess we need a second.
Second.
Member Small seconds. All right, let's have a vote.
Committee Member Carlton,
approved.
Committee Member Green,
Approved.
Committee Member Hanson Romero.
Yeah.
Committee Member Petrilli,
Approved.
Committee Member Smallens,
Yes.
Chair Abbott.
Yes, and thank you very much. I look forward to hearing from you. All right. Item 6.2. I guess we didn't open for public comment. I'm not sure we. Yeah. Item 6.2. Business attraction brochure. Brendan, did you want to pull this up? Did you want to present this a little bit? Okay.
Yeah, I could pull it up. So basically, here, just 1 moment. Let me just find that one right there. So this was an item that we had at a previous meeting, I think the March meeting, but it's essentially I'm gonna make this bigger. Oh, maybe I can't. Oh, no, I can't. It's essentially a brochure that will encourages those to start businesses in Albany. Oh, this is a little bit too big. Apologies. Okay, Sorry, I have to stop sharing really quick. I've been having some issues with my PDF. So let me just work with it really quick. But basically, it is designed to welcome those who want to or interested in starting a business in Albany, and it provides stats on. Sorry, I can't talk well. Look. Sorry, just one moment. This should be working now. Sorry, just one moment. Okay, so basically it provides information to folks who are interested in starting a business in Albany. It has information on the location and advantages to starting a business in Albany. It tells you a little bit about the community and the history, as well as the demographics. It goes into customer profiles that have been identified for as like certain Albany residents might align with one of these customer profiles. And then it also talks about the different commercial districts like Solano Avenue, like San Pablo Avenue, and then Cleveland Avenue and East Shore Highway. As you can see, there's the business profile that talks about the land use, and over here we see the employment and what type of job market is in Albany. And let me see over here, it just kind of lists steps for starting a business, which was reflected in the webpage. So that is also available on the webpage, but just provides this information as well. I'm going to stop sharing the screen now, but basically the idea is to have the EDC review it and see what they like about it, what might need to change, what they want to add, and just sort of the direction that it should take.
So this is something that we are developing, and you're just looking for feedback now on what we have at this point. Okay. Mm-hmm. Any questions, clarifying questions before we get into discussion? Yes, member Swan.
Where does this go? Like, who's the target audience for this that's out of the area that doesn't know Albany right now anyway? How does this get dispersed, and what's the target?
I think at this point it's prospective businesses, those who are interested. So maybe that does move it into a certain direction where it's those who kind of know about Albany a little bit. But again, this provides more details. But I think that's a good question.
Member Hanson.
So part of this kind of stemmed, I think, from a couple of years ago when I had brought up to the then Economic Development Committee is when I would open up business licenses in different cities. I found the city of Alameda's package to be very, very welcoming, very helpful, because when I was helping run my husband's construction company at the time, I was having to, pull business permits and business licenses. And I was just very, very impressed with the city of Alameda because they used it as kind of a resource guide. Okay, thanks for pulling, welcome to doing business in the city of Alameda. We want to help you be super successful, and here's all of this extra help and resources. And if you need this, you can go here. And if you need this, you can go there. And so it kind of stemmed from that idea. And so there's actually more to it than that. And I know that I had given the city of Albany the packet that I received from the city of Alameda, but that was, again, probably 2 years ago or so.
So that's more of a welcome packet than a sales packet. So they're kind of two different.
Well, it was kind of a both, because what it was is you were pulling a business license, but they were also trying to encourage you to do more business in the city.
Okay. So Brennan, I think though, you kind of need to share the whole packet, just at least go through it page by page, right? Because otherwise, how can the public comment if they haven't seen it? I guess, you think so, Todd, or?
Well, it's part of the agenda packet, so anybody who is
Okay, I guess
interested
they have
could
okay, go online.
review it.
Okay.
But I appreciate the comment or the suggestion. Any other questions before we open for public? Yes, Member Petrillo.
I think it's really well put together and it's a useful tool. I just had to do this similar thing in San Pablo for a friend / client of mine, and it was like not clear what the city needed and who to talk to for what, right? And what permittings are available, and it's sometimes difficult to navigate, and especially when you're dealing with the county too. You might want to include something on how to manage the county and who to contact in the county and making those connections. But it was a good looking website too. So that's all I got.
Okay, great. Any other questions? Okay. Oh yeah, Member Green.
I would just suggest that maybe in the section explaining the commercial districts, you include a map so that the reader can see exactly where those are. Because if you're not great with geography, it's kind of hard to understand.
Okay. I'm just going to quickly, I'm not anticipating public comment, but if anybody from the public comment would like to have some say on this item. And seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring it back. Okay, for discussion, very good. I mean, my comment, and I think we've observed this a little bit with some of the questions, is that we might want to tease apart and consider two documents. One is a welcome document, and maybe this item I think is well suited to be kind of the start of a welcome document that lays out details in addition to and marketing hints and things like that. And then another project would be an outreach document, trying to recruit businesses. That's kind of would be my general comment. Any other? Sure.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Member Smallwood, please go ahead. No, go ahead. That's fine.
Sorry. I mean, whatever we're going to do, though, if we're going to comment on this document, it'd be good if we can see the document and edit it live. I mean, so we can say, oh, well, like I have a couple of comments like, why is Walnut Creek in there? Like, who cares that it's 13 miles to Walnut Creek? Maybe we want to say Sonoma, Napa, if it's a sales kind of thing, if there's a wine oriented business or something. And, you know, I think there's a lot of things if we do want to make edits and comment, we should be able to do that live. I don't, I mean, the pictures to me, I guess they're just kind of thrown in there, but they don't show anything. They're empty streets. It's empty streets, empty sidewalks, empty parklets. So that to me doesn't look like, that wouldn't attract me as a business person to this city that has empty streets. We want to show lively, people biking, people walking, people sitting and eating, or things like that, at the pub or something where they're outside. I mean, but those are my kind of general comments, but not micro.
I would suggest that we're not kind of at the level of ready to edit the text right now. I think it's a little more rough than that. I know a lot of the images are intended to be placeholders. I think maybe what would be valuable now would be kind of overall suggestions, which I think what you've added is valuable in that way. Member Carlton, you had your hand up. Did you have something? Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to kind of echo what you had said earlier, that I think maybe it needs to kind of be two documents, because in going through it, it looks like it's kind of straddling, like, is this document meant to recruit, or is this document like what, welcome to this? I think it's visually, it's good. There's great information in here and it's well done, but maybe it kind of needs to pick a direction, or like you said, separate it.
Great, thank you. Yeah, no, I think that's the case. And I would note that I believe these, the demographics are based on the 2010 census. So hopefully we'll be able to update it soon. I don't know. Well, eventually. I know there are comparable estimated, based on annual surveys, but ultimately we'll get those census results that will need to be updated. Yeah, Member Smallens.
I think in general, also the San Pablo specific plan should be mentioned, that even though now they're talking about car dealerships, automotive services, and it's auto oriented, but still offers high quality eater, just the fact that with the San Pablo specific plan, the corridor will have more residents making, so more creating new customers and clients, and it's going to be more pedestrian and bike friendly, creating more of a community feel, because right now it looks like, and it is, San Pablo is like the speed through district. It should be something where people sell it as a destination, which now it's kind of like, this is what it is. You don't really want to be there, kind of. And then looking at the numbers, which, as Todd points out, everything's going to be updated, but the urban chic, just looking at these customer profiles, the trendsetters are 21% within a 3-mile radius. The urban chic are 20% within a 3-mile radius. And the metro renters are 3% within a 3-mile radius. That's 44% of people, according to these profiles, who who tend to walk, commute by bike, use public transit, and socialize. So I think that given that, if that's still true, that's something that we should orient this towards. Like, if you're a business who wants this walking community, and you have people that will walk by your front door. So given those numbers, I think it should be oriented that way in our in the 2 documents, but that's what the numbers say here.
And I would say, if we're looking at the kind of the welcome packet, here's the stuff, we need to talk to like Jeff and Ann and kind of get an FAQ. What are the most common questions at the desk? Try to anticipate those and answer those. And what would they want people to know, before they get started? And so that, new businesses come in and they're handed this thing, and it's not going to solve all their problems. It's not going to answer all their questions, but it makes them feel like they're welcomed, and it gives them a head start. And I do like the idea of kind of trying to a welcome packet and a recruitment document. And I'm not sure we're ready to talk about the recruitment document. It seems like this is better, a better start at kind of a welcome or a welcome process document. I would say that I wouldn't have the information about, make a business plan and petition name statement, because there's all kinds of sources for that out there. If you're starting a business, you go down to NOLA Press, you get a book on starting a business in California, something like that. I'm showing my age. You look at the website, when you get a PDF, whatever, you find that information. I think we need Albany specific information primarily to make it more valuable. Yeah. Oh, a question I had is there a budget for this? Is this an item that has been thought about as far as the budget is concerned, producing this document?
No, this brochure would, I think it was something that was started a while back. So we're picking it back up, and if and when it comes together, we would look at funding source to be able to print it. Mm-hmm.
Very, very good. Okay. And you think it would just be designed in-house? You folks would put it together?
Yeah, I think
okay.
So.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Okay. I guess for a marketing piece, we might want something different. I'm just saying, utmost confidence, but for marketing piece, we might. All right. Other comments on this? Have we given you what you need at this point, or is there more that we could provide? I think I'm asking Brendan at this point.
Yeah, no, I think that this is good. And I think the idea of separating out the 2 documents makes a lot of sense, because so I think from there, we'll look at what those two documents can potentially look like when they're separate, and go from there and then present to EDC as needed.
And I do know that the stats that aren't kind of set to be updated are that the marketing demographic categories. I was part of the ad hoc committee that worked with the people who put that together, and that was probably 2012 or 13 or something. So that's out of date as well. So we might need another source for that sort of thing. I would just, because that's not something, the U.S. Census doesn't collect urban sheep. Maybe it should. Okay. Other comments on this item? All right, I'm glad to see this moving, and I think I like the idea of kind of separating it out. I think that's a good direction to go. Okay, closing this item. I think that was the last item. So future agenda items. Anything we want to see put on the agenda?
So one thing I'll just mention is it sounds like we want to bring the work plan back. So of course that will come back up. And then the business survey, I wanted to mention, we'll have a presentation on that. And that is all I have for upcoming agenda items at this time.
Okay, very good. Other folks, I mean, we're kind of in this weird place with the work plan, so it's difficult, but other suggestions for agenda
Can I ask
items?
a question to staff? If we wanted to work with like the financial advisory committee or the arts committee, how is it done having a subcommittee of a couple of people from each, but then you're each going to your separate bodies? How does that work?
Do you want to go?
So,
Do you want to go?
You can go, and I'll just listen.
Okay. Well, the easiest way, okay, given that we're all virtual right now, would be for the committee to designate one person, right, and to attend another advisory bodies meeting and report, and then speak at public comments about the intention or the will of the committee to work together and do that as part of a regular meeting. If you have two subcommittees from two different advisory bodies wanting to meet virtually at this time, then we would have to create a Zoom meeting, and it would have to be broadcasted because it needs to be open to the public.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
So
if I just want to say, in normal,
Absolutely.
in normal situations, when we go back to in person at some point, it would, any advisory body subcommittee that want to meet with another one would always have to the meeting would always have to be noticed, and it would have to be done in a public setting. So because you're bringing two subcommittees from two different advisory bodies to work together.
As opposed to a single person can attend another meeting, things like that.
Exactly. You can attend another meeting and speak during public comments. You can't really speak on behalf of the advisory body that you're representing, but you can certainly, mention that there's an interest. But you could also, if there's an item on that advisory body that the committee is interested in, that advisory body, that member could go and listen to the meeting and report back on what was said, but not engage, into in committing to doing anything with that other advisory body.
Very good, understood. So it sounds like that's what the other committee did with Francesca. They kind of designated, hey, would you go check in on this or keep in touch or keep up to date with this? Yeah.
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. One thing that I did want to mention as an agenda item is Nick Pilch has mentioned a couple organizations that we should kind of keep our eyes on, CalEd and East Bay EDA or whatever. And I would like to kind of do the same thing here, is identify committee members who could attend those, or even and or keep an eye on it and then report back periodically. So maybe that would be another agenda item in the future. Okay, any other suggestions? Seeing none, I think we can close this meeting. Next one is July 1st, 5 p.m. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. And have a good evening. Okay, bye-bye.
So long, thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Yep.